What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today's topic, we're going to talk about how bad company corrupts good character. And I know this is a interesting topic, and I know that you may be thinking already what you think I may be talking about, and I can throw out some suggestions that you think, all right, he's going to talk about don't hang out with negative people, don't hang out with toxic people, and choose my friends wisely. Yeah, and I think to a degree that's a given, but I think you'd be interested in the way that I'm going to address it here in this video. But before we do that, do me a favor, if you haven't already, subscribe, like this content, share it with people. We are on all platforms, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. So thank you guys for your support. Let's continue to grow the channel together. So as we dive in, here's the initial thing that I just want to make sure that we're clear on. Time is valuable. So you can buy back many other things. You can buy clothes back, right? So if you lose clothes or your clothes get destroyed, you can buy clothes. If your car gets destroyed, right, you could buy another car. If you lose your home, potentially you can buy another home. I know the economy is terrible right now, but you get my point, right? There's certain things that are replaceable. Some things that are not replaceable are things like your time. Time is irreplaceable, and time is super valuable, and it's very important. And who you give that time to, I think, is really important. I think how you spend your time is very important. And this is not a time management video. I think that's a later video. But for today's specific purpose, time is important. And I've learned who to spend my time with and who not to spend my time with. You choose who you spend time with. Let's just be really clear. Okay. You choose who you spend your time with. I'm not talking about, right, you're a business owner and you have employees and you have to be with them. No, I'm not talking to you in this particular video. I'm talking about the person who has the volition to spend time with people, whether it's in the workplace or outside the workplace. You can choose who you spend time with. And so for that individual, whether you're a leader or not, okay, we all make that choice, we make that decision. And for some of us who are in leadership roles, have people who are in leadership, right? So for me, I'm a pastor and I have leaders with me, okay? So even in that particular scenario, I can choose who I spend the more time with and who I don't. And so as we look at this, I think there's a couple things that we need to, as people, and building relationships with others, look into. All right. So here's a few things. All right. Number one, when you're with a person, do they make you better or do they drain you? In other words, are they a blessing to your life or are they a burden to your life? I think because time is so valuable and we waste so much time, I think a lot of times we choose to surround ourselves with people and relationships that drain us often, and more often than we think, instead of giving ourselves to relationships and to people that were to fill our cup, that were to be a blessing to us. Obviously, I think that the people that we have around us that maybe drain us, I'm not saying to, like, don't be friends with them anymore. Like, oh, you drain me. I can't be. I'm not saying that, especially as a leader, I think we need to influence people as best as we can, right? As John Maxwell says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. But I do think that if we walk away from an encounter with a person and we leave drained constantly, we've got to reevaluate how much time and effort we spend with those people. And you know what? Those may be some hard words to digest, but when we talk about time being valuable, you've got to take that in consideration. You've got to understand that I want to surround myself with like-minded people. I want to surround myself with people that constantly make me better, that have the same vision, that have my same goal. And when people don't have that, it becomes very frustrating for you. And I've heard this from so many people, but I wrote it down so I wouldn't mess it up, and I probably still will, and try to interpret it my own way. Expect people to be who they are. So don't get frustrated when they don't do what is against their nature. And this hit me hard because, I have high expectations for certain people that I'm with, whether I'm leading them or even if I'm just a friend with them. There are some expectations that we put on our friendships, and I don't think they need to be unrealistic by any means. But if you're with people and you understand that their nature is a certain way, we'll expect them to be that way, right? If their nature is lazy, we'll expect them to be lazy, right? If they're a fool, expect them to be a fool, okay? If they're bitter, if they're constantly negative, we'll expect them to be that way, and don't get frustrated when they are that way. That is who they are. Now, I'm not saying you just leave them be. As leaders, again, our job is to influence and hopefully develop. But there's a certain point where even as we talk about friendships, who we spend our time with, okay, when it's our own volition, our own will, our own choice, who we spend our time with, be very careful when you surround yourself with those particular individuals. Because as I say, bad company corrupts good character. It's not always the people who are like non-Christians, okay, which I think sometimes we take that verse to mean like non-Christians, like don't hang out with people who don't believe in Jesus. But I think in general, people that you hang out with that are toxic, that are negative, that are draining for you, and your time is non-redeemable, it's non-refundable, be careful with how much time you give those people. And let me tell you, people will be upset with you. They'll be offended at you because you don't spend as much time with them as maybe you spend with other people. And you know what? That's okay. Because in this life, I want to be with people who are pushing it. I want to be with people who have the same mentality as I do, that we're going to grow, that we're going to run, that we're going to do this thing. And listen, if they're not, I've come up with this phrase in my vocabulary, in my leadership, that I think helps people in general. Help people exit well from your life. Help people exit well from even their responsibilities that they may be partaking in with you, whether it is in leadership or it is in business. How can you help people exit well, right? What I mean by that is you're not just cutting people off and like, I can't be around you anymore. Bye, right? That's not what I'm saying. As leaders, we need to help people with their next steps, even if it's a step away from you. Okay. A lot of times we help people take next steps towards the right things. Okay. And a lot of times we don't really consider like, all right, I need to help them take a next step away from me or away from this thing because their time is done. Right? How can I let go of people and exit them well? Or if their time's not up, it's like, all right, well, listen, I really want to develop them. I really want to help them. Okay, that's cool. Like if you feel like you could do that and influence them, that's one thing. All right. But if you feel like your time you're investing in them and there's no return, and I'm not saying a return like you get something out of it, but you're not seeing fruit in them, right? Jesus talks about don't cast your pearl before swine. Right? Jesus talks even about this. Jesus, in one part of scripture, doesn't go to his hometown because he says a prophet's not welcome in his own home. So he doesn't even do miracles there. In our lives, as we look at the people who are around us and who we surround ourselves with, okay, are they elevating us? Are they de-escalating us? Are they draining us? Or are they making us better? And listen, we won't have perfect relationships and friendships, but I choose to spend 80% of my time with the people that are going to uplift me and 20% of my time with the people that maybe will drain me. Okay. Because even if you have a leadership team, you got to be careful on your team, even who you spend your time with, because some leaders are going to be, man, let's do this thing. I get the vision, blood, sweat, and tears. Let's go. There's going to be others that don't. And that's okay. And you still need those leaders. You still need those individuals to help fulfill vision. However, when you look at your team, who you spend your time with is going to determine the level of frustration that you will experience. And let me tell you, I've experienced frustration. I'm not the greatest leader, but I can understand the mistakes that I've made and how not to make those mistakes again. Okay. So watch what happens here. When you actually break down bad company corrupts good character, when you spend time with bad company, you spend time with individuals that drain you. Okay. Then how does it corrupt good character? Well, then you start getting frustrated. You start getting angry. You start getting bitter. You start feeling resentment. It starts corrupting you the more time you spend with these particular individuals. This is just in a broad sense, right? Take leadership out of it. Friendships in general. I think in friendships, we hold on to friendships and relationships longer than we should. And here we are dying, and this level of toxicity is not healthy for us. But as we date people, as we build relationships and friendships with people, learn when to say, hey, you got to go. Learn when to say, I need to help you exit well from my life. Learn when you're being corrupted in such a way that you're not developing spiritual and healthy growth. You can always tell when you don't have the right people around you, when you're constantly frustrated. You can always tell when you're constantly feeling anger or resentment. I have felt that many times. Okay. And then even for me, I have held on to people longer than I should have. Have you ever done that? Have you ever made the mistake of holding on to somebody longer in your life than you should have because you don't want to hurt them or offend them or this or that? Listen, we've got one life to live. We have got a mission for a lot of leaders out there, for a lot of pastors who may be watching this or entrepreneurs, right? You've got a goal, you've got a mission, and your drive and the vision that God has given you, the vision you have for yourself, you need other people to fulfill, but you need the right people to help fulfill that. The right people. Even in relationships, listen, if you are not an entrepreneur, business owner, or a pastor, and you're just developing relationships around you, you still have a plan. You still have a purpose and a vision that I believe God has spoken into you or has been revealing in you, and you need the right people to carry that through in you. The right people, because bad company corrupts good character. It frustrates you. It sets you back, and time is so valuable. So expect people to be who they are, and don't be surprised when they do those things. Don't be surprised. I remember even Oprah said this and said, hey, don't be frustrated with somebody who doesn't do something the way that you would do it. And I was like, man, I'm so frustrated with that individual because they're not doing it the way that I would do it. And that's not a moment, I think, at time for me to say, hey, I need to help you exit well. It was a moment for me to say, hey, here's the expectation. I needed to bring clarity, right? Because when there's expectation but no clarification, that leads to frustration. Okay. So I'm going to say that again. When there's expectation and there's no clarification, that leads to frustration. But when there's expectation and there's clarification and they still don't do it, that still leads to frustration. However, if you have an expectation of someone that you know is not going to fulfill really what you find meaningful and purposeful in your vision and your goal on your team, or even in your life, in your friendship, how can you exit them well from your life? I think that's very important also, is not just cutting people off, but how do you do that? So here's 5 qualities. I'm going to leave you with 5 qualities that I think you should look for in a person when you choose to spend time with them. Okay, here's 5 things. Number 1, character. Number 2, chemistry. Number 3, charisma. Number 4, commitment. Number 5, competence. Can I just take a few moments? Let me just break these down just for a little bit. Number 1, character. Okay, do they have good character? Very simple. Okay, I actually have a video on developing good character as well. You could check that out. But do they exhibit good character traits? Okay, are they honest? Are they trustworthy? Are they genuine? Okay, there's certain traits that develop a good character. Do they have those things? The next thing is chemistry. Do you have a good vibe with them, right? Like, are they pleasant to be around? Okay, do you have the same things in common with them? Okay, that's chemistry. The next thing is charisma. Do they have a good personality? Right? Are they positive? Are they life-giving? Okay, those are very important qualities in looking to people to build a friendship with, a relationship with, or people to have on your leadership team. Do they have charisma? The next thing is commitment. Hey, are they committed to this friendship? Right? Like, when you call them, do they pick up the phone? Are they committed? And I'm not saying like it's, like they don't answer the phone call, oh, we're done. But are they committed to the friendship? Are you the only one that's giving everything, or is it reciprocated? Okay, I think that's really important. Is that person committed? The last thing is competence. Hey, do they have common sense? Okay, are they knowledgeable in how to build a friendship? Okay. Do they know what it takes to do that? Because building relationships is tough. Okay. And I also think that these 5 traits go into everything. They go into bringing somebody on in a leadership team, hiring somebody into your business or organization, also dating a person. These 5 traits I think are really awesome that you could use with people who you allow into your bubble, who you allow into your space, and who you spend your time with. Because again, I'm going to say it, I've been redundant. Your time is very valuable. You cannot get it back. Don't look back and go, man, I'm drained and I'm constantly drained by this individual or by these people. Listen, life is too short. There's people that want to spend time with you. And the reason why they can't is because you're wasting time with other people who are draining you. Okay. There's people out there, the ones that say there's no friends out there. There's no good leaders out there. Listen, I've said that myself with friends and different things. And I've gone, man, there are. It's just we're spending time with individuals that are depleting us, draining us, and not filling our cup. Now, don't get me wrong. We are responsible spiritually, emotionally, mentally to fill our own cup up. Okay. We are responsible for that. But friendships, the Bible says that as iron sharpens iron, so does a friend sharpen a friend. And even in Ecclesiastes, right? 2 is better than 1. For when one falls, right? How lonely is it for him when he doesn't have another person to pick them up? So listen, friendships are great. Leaders in your organization are great. Employees obviously are great. I would even encourage you, go through these as you hire employees. I know I mentioned it just a little bit ago. Go through these 5 things. We do at our church. We go through these 5 things. Even myself, and as I bring somebody on a leadership team, I go through these 5 things and I make sure that they have this compatibility here. Because if not, I'm leading myself to heartache. You're going to lead yourself to heartache. And honestly, if you don't walk somebody through these things in your life, and I'm not saying when you have a friendship, you're like, okay, well, let me ask you these questions. No, these are your observations that you have of these individuals. Okay. Do yourself a favor. Okay. Do this with every person so that way your time is valued, because you're not only just hurting yourself, I think you're also hurting the person that is in a relationship with you, that's on your leadership team. I do think that it's twofold. So I don't think it's just me. I think it's we. So as a leader, remember, you're influencing other people. And so if you don't watch it, you'll just think selfishly of yourself in the moment, but you won't think how it impacts other people. And sometimes the best thing for people in your life is that they exit well, not just to benefit you, but to benefit them as well. I hope that this is encouraging. I hope that as you look through the people that are around you, that they have these qualities that I just mentioned here. And if they don't, I hope that you would do some searching. And so make sure that you do that. I hope that this, again, was inspiring and encouraging. Share this again, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.